Welcome, everybody, to the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast, where we explore the exciting world of artificial intelligence and its impact on marketing. Every week, we feature in-depth conversations with industry leaders, tech experts, and marketing professionals. Our guests share their insights and experiences on how AI is transforming marketing and providing businesses with a competitive edge, keeping you up to date on the latest trends and best practices in AI-powered marketing. Now, whether you're new to the world of AI or an experienced professional, the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast is the perfect place to learn about the latest advancements and how they can be applied to your business. Join us each week, and now let's explore the intersection of AI and marketing together. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the podcast. My name is Matthew Manyak. I'm your co-host here with our host, Tony Aponte. How you doing today, Tony?
Good, Matthew. How are we doing today? Looking forward to this episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think our listeners are going to get a lot of value out of this one because we're going to be talking about prompt engineering. Now, prompt engineering is buzzword that's kind of been circulating. I know a lot of people have kind of looked at me funny when I talk about it, and they're like, what is that? Like almost as if it's like a new language, but in a way, it kind of is. And to that same extent, prompt engineering is essentially how we communicate with AI and the output that it gives us, right? So today we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks that you can use with things like ChatGPT to really hone in and get better outputs that are more configured to your inputs and into your application. I mean, Tony, like ChatGPT has been around for what, 10, 11 months now.
Yeah,
And
about
and
that. Yeah.
and I mean, I know that you and I were definitely one of the earlier adopters of it, earlier kind of getting into it. What has been your experience with ChatGPT just in general?
So in general, it's evolved. I mean, since we've started, it's you know the things that we can do now. You could have only hoped for whenever we first started, right? Because we're always trying to figure out how to make things work on it. And we're just not. We at the time we were kind of pretty ignorant when it came to figuring out what kind of prompts, what we wanted to use to get the output. And I'll be honest, it was a little frustrating at the beginning. I was like, okay, this isn't working the way that everyone's saying it is. But yeah, it's taken on a whole new life since.
Right. And I mean, to that same point, though, you also got to think as time's gone on, not only has the program gotten more robust and more advanced and developed, its data sets have been improved and elevated. But we've also, with repetition, with cycles, we get better at speaking to it. And
Right.
so, like, I mean, when you first start, and I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, a colleague of mine that I was talking about using it, and she had at one point said, "Oh, this really isn't for me. It's not working." Kind of like you said, the way that everyone's saying it is. And I asked her, I was like, "What did you prompt it with?" And she was like, I just asked the question of what is acupuncture, and obviously it's going to give you a pretty basic response of what is acupuncture. But then I was like, try it this way, and then said, hey, write me a 45-second Instagram reel script uh, based on on discussing the health benefits of acupuncture for seniors with scoliosis, right? So you get much more specific and much more targeted with what you're actually looking for, and then it can give you a much more robust response. And I mean, it's reinforcing this idea that it's a conversation. It's not like, you're working with a search engine and having to, put in literally exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
And then, obviously with search engine, you go and you scope out the different articles and different listings and stuff on the site. But with this, it's a new way of thinking. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up on.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's you know, to speak to that, it's the one thing that it sounds like a very techie word, but really at the end of the day, all it is how are you communicating with the tool, right? How are you articulating what it is that you want, and that's all. And and that's kind of like the key thing, right? Because now you have so many different tools, right? So each tool is going to require its own type of, communication, you know. So you're gonna have to, I think the good thing about this is going to push people to really learn how to converse, right? Because it's going to force them to want to, to really get very clear on what it is that they're asking for, and a lot more precise, which is really the two key things that you want to make sure that you're, incorporate in the communication back and forth with Chat GPT, whether it's Chat GPT, Jasper, I mean, you name it, Mid
Yeah.
Journey, all on how you communicate with it.
Right, and also you factoring in into the conversation how the program reads your input, right? So
Right.
prompt engineering is in many ways kind of its own blanket term. But when you look at, I mean, we talk about ChatGPT a lot simply because it was kind of the first thing that really started this AI wave that we're in now. It's what most people are familiar with. It's what most people probably have to some extent some reasonable experience with. But we start talking about like Jasper, Mid Journey, Content at Scale, some of the I say more ambiguous ones, but like they're familiar for us because we're in it on the day to day. But 99% of people are realistically haven't really even gotten past ChatGPT, and even at that point, 99% of them probably haven't even gotten past the basic like prompt engineering or like basic prompting.
Right.
So like the way that you speak to ChatGPT is going to be a lot different than you speak to, say, Bard, or is going to be a lot different than the way that you speak to Midjourney or Leonardo AI or any of these other programs that are out there. Like I'm just
Yep.
naming a few that I use more frequently
Hmm.
in my workflow, but each one requires, or not necessarily requires, but the way the way to get the most robust and most specific and most aligned with your vision kind of output is different based on each of those programs. And
Right.
so learning how to speak to the ones that you use the most, I think is again, those practices, those cycles in is where the magic happens. But now kind of leading into like, we talk about knowing how to speak to these programs, but how do we speak to these programs? What Tony, in your opinion, and in your experience, I should say rather, makes a good prompt versus a bad prompt necessarily?
So yeah, so kind of like we've already hit a little bit on that, but some of the things that you've got to really understand is that um the output is only going to be as good as the input. So a couple of things that we really need to be conscious of whenever we are creating our prompts, right? The first thing that we've got to remember is the clarity. We've got to be clear on what it is that you want. Because if you're not clear, you're not going to get, you put it in there, like the example that you shared about the acupuncture. If you're very, very unclear, very basic, you're going to get a very, very, very basic output, right? And it's not going to be what you want. So we've got to make sure that we're clear on what it is that we want, what the result is that we want on at the end of the day, to be able to benefit from that, right? The other thing too is we've got to be specific. All right, if you're not specific on what you want, it's not going to go. So for instance, let's just say that you're looking to let's talk about generative AI, right? Where we want to create a, let's just say, and I use this a lot for social media posts, is that let's just say that um, I want to create a picture for a blog post that I am writing about, and I'll just use since I work with home improvement contractors. Let's just say that I'm doing an article on marketing to a remodeling company, and so I will say, well, provide me an image of a contractor in a house. You're gonna get crap out of that, right? So then to get a lot more specific and clear, please provide me an image of a 1900 style house with a professional remodeling contractor standing outside holding a pad in his hand, looking up at the house with at the dawn of day, with the sun going down on the back on the backside, where speaking to a homeowner with a happy face, right? Now you're going to get a lot better image, right? And
Yep.
so, but you've got to give it details. You know, and again, when it comes to, I think that's what really is so cool about generative AI right now, is that you can get so specific that the imagery that you get is just unreal. And I know, Matthew, that you deal a lot with creatives in that sense, that, so I know that you know what I'm talking about, that the imagery that you can get is just unreal. So clarity, specificity, and then the context, right? You've got to give it background, right? Just like I did on that previous on that example, you got to give it some sort of context to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to do. You know, give it a idea of what the surrounding is. What's the what's the word I'm looking for? The
Like the use
overall,
case.
right? Exactly, yeah. And so that way it understands, oh, what's the actual situation that you're trying to create, right? And then the formatting. Again, the formatting is going to base mostly on the platform that you're working on. All right. So it's, so each platform is going to be completely different. And and all one thing that I've got to say, this kind of is going to lead into the fact that you want to be, whatever tool that it is that you are using, you want to become the master crafter with it, right? Because the better you get at using that tool, the more efficient you're going to get, but you're going to start getting some stuff that it's going to really help you amplify with, with your content, anything that you're doing. It's just going to really make it that much better. So those are a few things I think are key, to when it comes to a really good prompt. Obviously, if you don't do any of those, that's where your bad prompt's going to be, right?
Right.
But a couple other things is the language, and example ideas and error free. What do you think? How do you think on those three areas, Matthew, can help out with the communication and the prompts?
Yeah, and just like you're saying, right, specificity and clarity. Like one thing that I've done within ChatGPT, right, is feed it examples of things that I want to emulate, right? So
Hmm.
for me, for some of the social media that I do for myself, I was like, hey, here's a few examples of posts that I've written. I want to create a couple variations of this with new. I mean, I do motivational Mondays. I do like analysis of different quotes and what they mean to me, right? And so I was kind of testing ChatGPT, and I was like, hey, here's 2, 3 examples of motivational Monday posts that I've written analyzing these quotes. Do another one with a new quote that I haven't used, and then it was able to give me something back that was pretty comparable to the style of writing, the format that I follow. So it was really cool to kind of see that. But one thing that I also want to, I say, caution people on with this is like with the outputs. Uh, don't just take it verbatim, right? Go through it, review it,
Right,
tweak it to fit your own purposes.
right.
We're here to save time, not to cheat. I think is the big concept here that we got to be cognizant of. But I mean, people got to look at this too as, again, it's conversation, right? So you can use things like chain of thought prompting, which is a bit more advanced of a concept, but essentially like telling the program how you want it to think and how you want it to solve a problem and how it should be,
Right.
thinking in a given context.
Yep.
Um, like as an example, something that I use, or a way that I wrote it or used ChatGPT for a screenplay that I was working on. Right, I was like, all right, I've got plot point like A, B, C. I don't have D, E, but I have F, G. Right, and I was like, I need you to fill in the blanks, bridge these two gaps in the context of this overall story. And so I was like, think of it this way: we've got 1, 2, X, Y, 5, 6. We need to find the value of X, Y, and then in the context of this narrative. And then it was like, yeah, I can do that. And then it went through and kind of gave me a couple different ideas on how to bridge that gap with different events. So,
Hmm.
um, I mean, when I first got into prompt engineering, I didn't even know that was possible, that it could like compute at that level. So I was like, okay, cool. Um, so really, I like, again, it's all about playing with it and learning how to use it and getting those cycles in. Another thing that I want to talk about too is the concept of priming it and asking questions, right? Because I mean, and priming is probably something that we can delve into on a future episode, just because that's a deep topic in and of itself. But from the standpoint of giving it the context with examples and then asking it to like develop an output based on the previous information that you provided. So in this case, the primer was the examples that I provided it, and then being able to then request the output. But
Right.
uh, something that I've also used it for, and that I think a lot of people miss out on, is you can use it for things that you don't know all the information for. And what I mean by that is, um, say that you are you like you're writing up a form or writing up some sort of paperwork, and you're like, hey, I need to write up this form, but I don't know all the information that I need. Ask me question, like act as again, whatever the profession is that it's for. So I mean, just using a hypothetical here, right? I need to draft up a basic talent release form, right? Act as an experienced contract attorney, and ask me questions because I don't know all the information that I need to give you, right? And so it'll then ask you 10, 20 questions based on the context that you provide it. You feed it that information, and then it can then output, again, a more robust response based on that. Now obviously, if you're doing something like contracts and paperwork, it's probably going to be best to have that vetted by someone who's actually a contract attorney. But
Right.
for things like like blog posts or social media, or just like light use cases, right? Have If you don't know all the information that you need to provide it, ask it to ask you questions about what it needs, so that way you can get what you need out of the response.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's I'll give another example of how you can use that is that just this past week, we're I'm working on an email marketing campaign, and I was like, I need to get at least, a good 15 email series sequence set up, right? So I collect email swipes, right? For just to kind of refer back to. And so there was a set of emails that I've kind of found in my library of swipes, and I put them all together. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, I need you to act as an email marketing expert, and where you help businesses to create engaging emails to help convert cold leads into warm prospects, warm leads, whatever, right?" And then I'm going to provide you an example of the style of email that I want to create this. Please, let me know that you understand, right? So I put that in there with the examples of the emails. Yes, I understand the format you want, right? So then I said, great. Well, I need you to create 15 emails. And then I gave it the information that the emails are all about with the call to actions and everything. And I want you to write it in Gary Halbert style. And then it, bam, created me all the 15 emails. And obviously, you got to go through again. You never want to take what it puts out at face value and just post it in there, right? You want to go through and edit it. Go through and proofread it, make sure the pronunciations or the spelling's all correct. You read it to where it reads a little bit more like a human. But that literally just cut out so much work, for me. And so you just go in there and you add your voice to it, and you go in there. But again, it's about being clear what you want, giving it the context, and giving it examples. Examples are going to be huge because once you start providing the AI the examples that and ideas that you want to work from, it's eventually going to learn. It's going to learn you. It's going to learn how you communicate with it, and it's just going to become a much better experience.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's we as humans, right? We form relationships and friendships through communication, and it's you got to look at the same way here. When you speak with an AI or communicate with an AI at the start, right? It doesn't know you, and you don't really know it, and that's why it's important to get those cycles in to figure out how works best for your specific application, to get those results that you're looking for from the AI and from the program. And if that's anything that that you guys need help with that are listening to this, please shoot us an email, shoot us a DM at Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast, and we can jump on a call and help walk you through what you need to do to get those kinds of results for you and your business.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, just on a final thought, the one thing that we got that we just want to make sure everyone understands that AI is just evolving, and there isn't anything right now that I've been able to see when it comes to certain tasks. A lot of tasks that we do, whether it's for marketing, business management, productivity, I haven't seen anything that it can't help you out with. So it's really, Matthew and I, we were talking about this before we started shooting this one, was talking about how, we just don't want you to be one of these business owners that are just getting left behind, right? Understand that that these are tools that are there that you can use to really improve the processes in your business. And who doesn't want that, right? We as business owners, we're always stressing out about how we can make things better for our business, whether it's with HR, finance, and marketing, PR, all these different things. AI is there to help us out, and so try to really jump in there and start learning this. And if you don't, and if not, connect with people like Matthew and I. We're here to help you guys out with this and to really be able to take advantage of the technology to put yourself at the next level on where your competition isn't. So I think that's really important that we really understand that.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, thanks so much for jumping on today and joining us for another episode of the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast. If you found this information valuable, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.